Welcome to the Auto Dealer Influencers Podcast. Brought to you by TurboPass USA. Featuring conversations with successful auto industry influencers and innovators, sharing tips and strategies to help make the car buying experience less stressful and more enjoyable. With your host, Patrick Jarman.
And welcome back to the Auto Dealer Influencers Podcast, brought to you by TurboPass USA. I am your host, Marco Salinas, and I also have with me today my co-host for today, Mr. Patrick Jarman. Patrick, say hello, please.
Hello.
Awesome, man. Today we are excited to bring you a conversation with a successful auto industry influencer and innovator. On this show, we do talk with some of the most experienced and accomplished professionals in the auto industry world. We learn their tips, their strategies, their insights, their background, all that kind of good stuff. And joining us today, we've got a very special guest, Mr. Tyler Cochran. Tyler is currently working at Beaver Toyota in Cummings, Georgia, and he is the current finance director. Tyler, welcome to the program.
Hey, how are y'all today? I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much, man, for joining us. We are excited to talk with you. And I've got some questions that I'd like to ask you, and I want to learn a little bit more about you, your background, and just pull out some information that's stored within your brain and all your years of knowledge and experience in that world. First and foremost, Tyler, tell us about your background in the auto industry and what inspired you to pursue a career in that field.
Funny enough, I got out of college, did stocks, bonds, mutual funds for about probably 10 years, went through a bunch of crashes and got a little bit of burnt out. I got into the auto industry in 2010, started in sales, and I grew up in this type of environment. My grandfather had owned a motorcycle shop. So it was it was something I'd seen my entire life, and it was an easy transition and definitely exciting.
That's awesome, man. So you had a little bit of family background in that world?
I did. My grandfather owned a motorcycle shop. And so growing up as a kid, I was running around the shop all the time and seeing the stuff that he was doing, which a lot of it translates into the car business.
Absolutely.
So it was fun to start doing this.
Got you. Yeah, man, that is awesome. Tyler, what do you think, since you've been in this world for a while, you've probably seen a lot of things, and you were a little bit of a sponge in the early years watching your grandfather do his thing, right? What do you think sets a successful auto dealership apart from those who tend to struggle to succeed?
I think you definitely have to set yourself apart. I think with the amount of information that customers have these days, they said in college when, you did a good job, somebody was going to tell 2 people. When you did a bad job, they tell 13. Now that we have social media, you can tell thousands either. So you have to do a good job. You have to look after your customers, and every day you have to try to do the right thing for your customer, but you do still have to protect your dealership and be profitable, but you got to look after your customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask another question under that same category right there, Tyler. How can a dealer build more trust and rapport with their customers so that they are more inclined to come back again and have that repeat business?
I think transparency is one of those things. I think there's obviously in the car business over the years, there's been a lot of people have negative connotations for the car business and car salesmen and finance and feel like they're going to get beat up. One of the things we do here at Beaver Toyota is we actually have a board in our showroom, a couple of them, that have our rates. And those rates come from Southeast Toyota. And so that's one thing that we can try to bring down any or concerns that somebody may have up front and say, hey, we're going to tell you where we're at. And that helps. And I think a lot of times if you're making the customer feel like you're doing the right thing, they're going to keep coming back.
Yeah. And absolutely. I want you to speak a little bit. Something you haven't mentioned is how awesome your dealership is and the extra things y'all got going on in there. Can you tell me a little bit for those who don't know? Because I've been there.
So our dealership is not real life for most dealerships. It's enormous. It's brand new. Beautiful. As you walk in, if you look to the left of our dealership, we have a sitting area with a fire pit and an outdoor TV. You walk in, we have a very open showroom with different areas that you can sit. So it's not the traditional desks that the salespeople sit at in the showroom. So you can go anywhere and work your deal. We have a full cafe that actually serves beer and wine. We're in the process of opening a hair and nail salon. We have massage chairs. We have a gym. We actually have a personal trainer that now comes in and works with our employees to try to help keep them in shape. So there's just a lot of things we do here that are completely different than anyone else.
And when you like, not every employer has got a personal trainer. And is that one of the things that your dealership does to attract and retain top levels of talent?
Absolutely. We also hired a financial advisor to work with our employees. As of the beginning of this year, we just started closing on Sundays, and a Toyota store in a major metro area, I think we're one of the only ones in the country that does that. Closed on Sundays. It just makes it nice. It's one of the only days that your phone is not actually going to ring because nobody's here.
Yeah.
And now that's happened, it's definitely made life a lot easier for us as employees.
That's awesome, man. Getting a little bit of that work-life balance going in there. Taking a page from that big chicken company that no matter what happens, man, they will not open on a Sunday.
No.
That's incredible, man. Let's transition a little bit of a different direction here, Tyler. I want to ask you, what do you personally do to stay up to date on industry trends and best practices and just knowing what the latest, greatest thing is out there in your industry?
I talk to as many people as I possibly can. From other dealers, from banks, from where I can, for vendors, and seeing what somebody else is doing that's different than what I'm doing, that's better than what I'm doing, and just trying to absorb as much information as I possibly can. This industry has changed so much over the last couple of years, and a lot of it has to do with Corona. Some of it has to do with Carvana, and the way that people are trying to buy cars has changed everything as well. So it's really, there's a bunch of automotive news. There's a whole bunch of different sources out there, but it's really just being open-minded and looking to see what's different. What do I need to get better at? What's changing in the industry I need to look at, going from there.
Yeah, man. On that note, I think that's a perfect segue into my next question, which obviously on the top of everyone's mind is always technology. Technology is always around us. That ties in with the way that we market ourselves, that we market the businesses with digital marketing, things like that, all the way to the way that things are handled on the back end as well. So can you talk to me a little bit about how technology has changed in recent years, especially after going through this whole economic and worldwide shutdown?
One of the things I've noticed is, especially during Corona, a lot of customers were afraid to get out. So we had to come up with new ways to still be able to sell cars, provide a great customer experience, but do it efficiently. And it was easy for the customer. We were one of the only ones that I know of, and or a lot of people are doing it, but really working on that home delivery process. We also have a huge used car inventory, so we ship cars all over the country. So coming up with a way that we can send documents and have them signed electronically, that one, you're trying to prevent as much fraud as possible, keep the banks happy, keep the customer happy. There's a lot of juggling there, and we're constantly evaluating and looking at different options to try to help in that process. Right now, I have 4 different types of e-sign companies or programs that allows me to send stuff back and forth to customers. The other thing that's come up, and it's more so recently, is the amount of fraud that we're seeing. And it's just growing. So I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm about to add an identity verification program that we can find out if the person is who they really are and try to prevent as much fraud there as possible. Which one of the things I've used for TurboPass actually is try to help identify if I'm sort out any fraud, whether it's with bank statements and stuff like that. So that's one of the tools that I do use to help in that process.
I love it, man. One of my next questions was going to be about the bigger challenges that you guys are seeing. It sounds like you answered that. Fraud is obviously a big one. Yeah. And as technology advances, it's getting easier for them to come up with different ways to commit fraud, right, at the dealership. So you're telling me, though, that with what you've seen there in your own eyes, in your own experience, TurboPass has helped to combat that issue?
Yeah, it definitely gives you a way to, people are making fake pay stubs and bank statements and all kinds of, and they can make anything right now. And there's times when I'm like, okay, here, I'm just going to send you this link and let's run a TurboPass and see. And then you can tell real quick if somebody's comfortable with that or not. The next thing you know, they've got to leave, or something's coming up and they got to go home, or they're completely cool with it, and makes our life so much easier and being able to get everything over to the banks.
Man, that is awesome. Absolutely. Yep. Patrick, what else you got, buddy? I'm sure you've got some amazing questions that you can ask Tyler. You're more well-versed in the actual auto world than what I am. What's another question that you can...
I think talking more about the customers and keeping them happy, there's a balance, right, that goes into balancing the needs of your dealership to be profitable and the needs of your customer for their car to be affordable. So how do you determine pricing and inventory levels that meet customer demand while also maximizing profit?
Sure. We have always had a program called Beaver Benefits, and that adds, we get lifetime oil changes, lifetime car washes, lifetime loaner cars. We have a 30-day exchange policy. Buys a car and they decide that they want something different within that 30-day process. They can come back and we will give you exactly what you paid for what the price of the car was towards the purchase of a new car. Wow. We try to offer a lot of benefits. Yeah. Now there's a cost associated with that because there's stuff that we have to pay for the car. But through this entire process after Corona, when a lot of people were making huge market adjustments at $5,000 and $10,000, we stayed at MSRP plus our Beaver benefit program. So I'm not trying to criticize anybody. We tried to sell as many cars as we possibly could while providing a good value to the customer and not really marking stuff up, and offering these programs that help bring people.
Yeah, man.
What you were looking for.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Yeah, I think you nailed that, Tyler. I really do. So I'm considering getting into the auto industry. Maybe I feel like I know some people that are doing really well in it. Like, right? What kind of advice would you have for me as somebody considering getting into that, entering into that world?
It really depends on what area you would want to get into, whether it was sales or service. But there's so many different options, or even collision. There's a ton of great options to go. I can really speak on the sales side. Make sure you do your homework on the dealership you're going to, whether it's a private owner, a group, their benefits. Ask people that may be in the auto industry that, how they feel about that particular company. There's a lot of information out there. Everybody knows somebody in the car business. You can ask them and find out exactly what each dealership's doing. And then if you do decide to do it, just be open-minded. I was laughing with one of my guys the other day. We have a salesperson that started, and great kid and is working really hard. But what happens is somebody in sales, they start out, think they've got it all figured out. And next thing they have a bad month because they're thinking they've got it figured out and mess everything up. So you just have to stay looking at the business like you're always new and trying to learn something new. Yeah. That you don't know everything, because with all the we've got so much coming up with these new FTC regulations. How are we going to handle that? There's so much change that happens in this business that you have to understand that you never know everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any denying the fact, Tyler, that it is a pretty demanding industry, right? The people that I do know that are in the auto world, for lack of a better term, some of them have to practically live at the dealership. Those are the demands of what you guys are doing there. Tell me a little bit about, what do you do when you are off on a Sunday and you're finally in that relaxation mode? What does Tyler Cochran do to wind down and unwind and not think about work for a little while?
I think today's a perfect day because it's opening day. I've got the Sunday season pass to the Braves. Any Sunday that they're playing, I've got tickets to, and my wife and kids love going to those games.
Nice.
Play golf, hang out with friends, do all kinds of stuff. But I figured since it's now opening day, we would talk about that. Hopefully the Braves are still winning, but it's just trying to be outside or exercising, doing whatever, because you sit inside in an office for so long, you just want to get some sun.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. Patrick, you got anything else before we start to wrap up? You don't have to. I think we might have hit everything that really needed to be hit. I just had one final thing before we wrap up. Tyler, you did mention that you were using TurboPass. You were liking it. It was helping you with some of the fraud reduction type stuff. Can you just maybe tell us just a little bit more on how it has impacted you, your dealership, and specifically the car buying experience for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Think we started using TurboPass a little over a year ago. We do a lot of business with the bilingual market, and some of our banks, one of them actually suggested to us to partner and use TurboPass. And we started using it and saw how much easier it made our lives. It also helped with funding and fees and a lot of other things, but it also helps sort out fraud situations, making sure you're getting accurate information in the correct bank statements. And I've been so impressed with it, I've actually been pushing a lot of my other banks that I have contacts with, some large ones, to start using it, and have been able to get other banks that weren't using it before to now accept it, as opposed to just more of my subprime banks. So it's definitely made our lives a lot easier in trying to get some of these deals funded.
And here, I'm the marketing guy, so I so want the specific. What was the world like before, and what is it like now?
You're hoping that somebody can get you bank statements. Maybe they're sending them to you a day or two later, or you're trying to get them to download them on a computer in the showroom, or they're bringing them in and you're wondering if they're fake or not. There's just so much that can go wrong with it. Now, I literally send somebody a link, they log in, and I've got all the information I need. And it's super clear to exactly how much they're getting over a certain time period or metric the bank is looking for. The information's right there, and we can pick it apart pretty quick.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Tyler, man,
been great.
That's what we love to hear around here. And we appreciate First of all, again, you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us for this podcast and sharing the great information, your feedback, your wisdom that you've attained over the last over 10 years, as well as all the things your granddaddy taught you too, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the most important stuff that you picked up through sometimes even unspoken word, just watching and learning. Right. Thank you again so much, Tyler.
No, thank you guys.
Being a part of this, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. And good luck to everybody. And obviously, I've tried to help with turbo passes and let everybody know as much as I possibly can. So if anybody wants to call me on it, I'm
and thank
more than
you,
happy
Tyler.
to pick up the phone and give you a referral. So
for all you've done. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Can't thank you enough, my man. All right, guys, that does it for another episode of the Auto Dealer Influencers podcast. We will catch you here next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Auto Dealer Influencers podcast, brought to you by Turbo Pass USA. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show, or to listen to past episodes, please visit turbopassusa.com/podcast.